But if it leads to possible death, perhaps it's better left here. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. I'm a small seller. I currently sell on eBay as well as on Niknax. We are heading into the Overland Park Goodwill this afternoon. Yeah, so I think Saturday the 13th, gum on the seat. That's okay. As long as it works, right? Let's see, looks like this week they got yellow tags, 25% off because Saturday. Well, they've got a bunch of these Snoopy figurines. A tiny little, probably made in Japan piece, $1.99. What color tags were we looking for? Yellow. We're looking for yellow tags. Well, it's definitely not been a very long time since we've been here, so what we'll find, I don't know. Burwood Quartz, New Haven, made in USA. Give us this day our daily bread. Little battery operated clock. Well, probably out of the 80s or so. What do they have on it? 534. I'm not sure if it works or not, maybe. Average resale value on these pieces isn't usually too terribly high. I think I'll leave it sitting there for now. Let's see what's going on in our glass. Anything exciting? Oh, it's not the kitty dish. You guys remember that kitty dish I found? It was like this and it was purple on the edge. And it had that kitty design. This looks like the top of a tumble-up glass. Wonder if it is. Okay, well, I don't know if I'm seeing much else in our clear glass. I was gonna go live and do this video, but then I thought that they tend to have the music turned up pretty loud in this one. That's an art glass, Halloween style. They got $4 on it. It's kind of cool, right? With all of its danglies. Maybe. I'll lay it in the cart. I guess in my mind I was thinking that might be fun for a live sale, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what all else we find. That's really pretty. $1 on it. Oh, it was Pottery Barn, $3.25. Looks like somebody maybe had it in their garage sale or something, huh? It's really pretty though. A little creamer mini pitcher. That's kind of a different collector's plate thing. Knowles, Edwin M. Knowles. It is a yellow tag. That's pretty too. Oh my gosh, that's cute. What's it say? 2016 Tri-Coastal Design. $3.25. Oh, this little kitty. I guess a ring holder, right? You'd slip your rings on the tail. That's kind of a cute planter. $4.25 on it. I like that maroon color. And those holes there indicate it probably would have had like ribbon or something tied through it. Oh my God. Look at this guy. That's adorable. Made in China, $5.25 on it. That's cute. Hey, I have these glasses. I have a set of 6 of them, I think. But I've had them listed for quite a while. And they haven't sold. I think Libby made them, if I remember right. I got my set at an antique store. They are really cool. There's some of them where they look more like carousel horses, but I think that's the exact ones I have. This is a tiny little carved dog. He doesn't have a sticker. I kind of doubt that was the sticker. It looks like it's been stuck on there for a minute. Oh gosh, and I've got a couple of these too. Anchor Hawken, I think, did some of these. It's kind of a cool little ring dish. It's chipped. Clay Statial. Is that what that says? Clay station. I like the bottom in that. Oh, that's kind of a pretty stoneware piece. $10, be 25% off. I do like that. It has this blue felt on the bottom. I don't know who made it. Very simple design, very cute. Some little hand woven coasters, I think. That's a huge picture. Wow. Really pretty though. Not for food use. It could kill you. $6.25, made in China. I like the vase though. Those colors are very pretty. Wow. But if it leads to possible death, perhaps it's better left here. Let's see what's going on in our bakeware dishes and such. Oh, look. Now, the last time we saw this, I don't think it had the base to it. It just got cooler. I wonder if they brought the base out later and put it together, or somebody found the base somewhere else in here and then put them together. I'll never know. And now we're heading into metal, and you guys, metal has been hurting. What does this say? American Homestead Spring Courier Knives. So it's a reproduction of one of their original pieces. $3.25. It is a nice shape though. Oh, here's a little vintage kind of ice bucket. I think vintage anyway. $12.25. A Tapco, made in USA. Let's see what it looks like on the inside. Oh, and it comes with tongs. Well, it is 25% off because it's a yellow tag. I'll look it up. We've got kind of a sad cart so far. But I'll look that up and see, because $12.25 is kind of up there. Ooh, that's a cool stone. $14.99 originally, $6.25 now. That's cool. As a paperweight, or you could even use it as a bookend. Okay, now we're more in the wood section. I don't know that we can anticipate too much. That's very Aztec-y looking. Oh, look at me. I'm doing good. The Sunstone or Aztec calendar, $3.25. It's kind of cool. Hey, here's the Sango, that bird pattern. Oh, darn, they were blue tags. Okay. Well, maybe. Here's some little satin pink serving dishes. Cute Homer Laughlin piece. $6.25 on it. You can tell it's pretty damaged though. We've been striking out in mugs lately. Certainly in regards to art pottery. So I have a sneaking suspicion they're hoarding the art pottery mugs at this point, because I used to find them all the time. Okay, well, we'll come back around in here and look some more. And this aisle is jam-packed, so we'll skip it. Here's a cool ceramic jar, got a little age to it, $8.25. But I have so many pictures, I have a feeling it'll sit for a while, so I'm gonna leave it. But it does look like it's in good condition, probably an $18 to $24 value on it. Here's a cart they've rolled out, but most everything on here looks very contemporary. This matches that other piece that'll poison you, and it's broken. My mom used to make things like this. They like sit in front of the doors and you know, help keep drafts and stuff out. $5.25. This one's shaped like a kitty cat. So let's see. Now this one here might have been bought. Looks like the tag was taken off, but my mom used to hand sew these. What is this guy? He's got some little mother of pearl pieces on him. He's got his little turtle baby on his back. He's $3.25. He's hand carved wood. I guess he's just a trinket dish, but he's a friggin' turtle. And I don't see that his legs have been broken and repaired, or his head, or his little buddy there. I don't know. I kind of like him. I have no idea what it resells for, but I kind of like him. Alright, so we're getting ready to enter the dishware arena and see what we can find. What is that? That's a candle. That's wax. It's meant to look like wood. Huh. It's interesting. And what is this? This reminds me of those Japanese pieces I always seem to find and pick up. Now, dishware at the other Goodwill was not too terribly impressive. This is very pretty. Very pretty pattern. Of course, it's the whatever wheat, harvest wheat, but then, you know, harvest wheat did numerous different floral designs. And I'm not sure. It looks like this is the only one, and they got $2.25 on it. Here's a couple. Impressions by Danielle, Riverside, $2.25 for the set of 2. They look to be in pretty rough condition, though. So I think I'll set those there. What are these? Set of 2. Mayflower something. What's this? $4.25. Okay, let me see just one of the things. Fascination. Okay. Universal Potteries, Cambridge, Ohio, Park Avenue. Fascination. Shaped by Alf Robson. Patterned by Comde, something. Huh. It's very interesting. $4.25 for the little like bread plates. $4.25 for the set of 4 dinner plates. I at least like that they have them grouped up. And I think $4.25 for a set of 4 salad plates being the same price as full-size dinner plates probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but again, at least they paired them up. Oh, that's a pretty blue. Wow. $3.25. Sticker's falling off. It's a very pretty blue, and I kind of like that optic in it. But I have lots of glasses, so... Oh, look, down here, there's a few more. I don't know, though, guys. I think in glassware, there's not a whole lot to get excited about. Oh, here's another one of these little cups. See? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just little cups, but they look like they'd be the top to a, oh my gosh, I just said it earlier, tumble up. Good Lord Almighty. Oh, and I saw this last time. Now, this is an Anchor Hawken mug, exactly like the cobalt blue ones, only in amber. I'll put some comps on the screen to show you. One reason I'm not going to pick it up is because I can see some sort of a scratch or water stain mark in here, and I may easily be able to get that out. It looks like a lot of it's coming off just rubbing my finger on it. But those are things when you're looking at glass to pay attention to, are things like water stains. Some can be easy to get out, some not so much. But also, more importantly, it is here by its lonesome. So, I'm going to leave it. Yeah, it does seem like they have the music turned down a little bit in here today, which I was hesitant, threshold. I was hesitant to go live because the last time we were here, they had the music pretty loud, which really was loud primarily beneath the speakers. Otherwise, it wasn't terrible. But when you were under the speakers, it was like, it was overpowering. And, oh, Bailey's cups. And Lonnie had asked them if they could turn it down, and the manager told the kid that went to ask, they said absolutely not. And so, that's typically why I don't even bother asking. Because who am I? Although there were other customers walking by that overheard us talking about it, and they were a little surprised to hear that they weren't willing to do it. Custom framed by Auerbach's Wall Works. Huh, The Andres Hoyu collection. Might be worth $1 million. I don't know. Oh, what is that? A little stoneware piece. Transpack? Food safe. I don't know. They got $4.25 on it. I like the colors of that. Salt pepper shaker set. Oh, that's kind of cool. Hand painted bluebird, blue jay on there, $2.93. And then here's another one. They're hand painted. And they're yellow tags. I'm gonna get them. I think those are cute. Like stemless wine glasses. I wish there were a couple more. That'd be fun. That really giant platter, but it's got all that crazing on it. It's still there. What's this one? Made in Portugal, $9.99, $10. I'm tempted to pick it up. I have so many platters, but that is really pretty, and I love how colorful it is. And this is kind of cute too. Baked with love. $8.25. All right, so I guess it's kind of a pie plate, but it's like a short pedestal pie plate. What's this bowl? I don't know. It's signed. $4.25. Well, let's find out. Okay, I think it says Joe Coban, Joe something. It's a very pretty bowl. $4.25, 25% off. I don't know. I might leave it for now. Here's one of these glasses that's left. Oh, and they're yellow tags. Man, oh man. All right. I'm at least going to put this one back in the cup aisle, but maybe there's still a couple more. And now that they're on sale, I could pick them up. Here's one of these, again, heavy glass mixing bowls, would have gone to a mixer. This one's probably made by Glassbake, just based on that pebbling on the bottom. But like I told you guys in the last video, Glassbake, Anchor Hawking, all the main glass companies would make the heavy mixing bowls to sit with the mixers and stuff. So checking your thrift stores for replacements for them is not a bad idea. You will tend to find them. All right, let's see if we can find any more of the Mexican blown glasses. And at the very least, we'll put this one back up here. I don't think I saw any more when we were just in here. I mean, that green kind of pops, so you would think it'd be easy to see. Well, we'll still set this guy right there. Okay, I don't know what he resells for, but he is hand carved. He's only $3.25. I think I am gonna get him. I like that mother of pearl inlay on him, and I like that he has the little baby turtle on the back there. And I don't think there was any breaks to it, right? Doesn't look like it. Like his head was broken and put back on. I don't see any damage. This tape's not staying on so good now. I'm gonna set this back, and I will put some comps up to show you guys. I was kind of thinking this was probably quite a bit newer, but trying to make it look more vintage, and I was right. And basically they have $12.25 on it, and that's essentially what it sells for, if not a little bit more than what it sells for on eBay. These are unsigned. I don't know. They're hand painted. They're adorable. I'm gonna grab them. I love them, and I think somebody else out there will appreciate them too. I think they'd be fun to put in a live sale. And this dude, oh no, one of his little balls fell off. Oh, it'll go back on. But this dude, I don't know, he's $4. I may put him back. I was thinking he'd be kind of cool for a live sale, but even as glass, it's not really green glass, it's applied, so I'll reattach him and set him back on the shelf. So we're getting so far our cups and our turtle. Okay, so I put back our bucket And then I found that really cute gnomes thing, so I laid the Halloween glass piece there. But then I saw this. It's just a cylinder vase, and I picked it up, and it looks like it says Anna Van Briggle. I don't know, I can't make it out all the way. But they have $2.25 on it. It's drip glaze. And I feel like for $2.25, I want to investigate that more. Well, I don't know. Okay, let me set it there. I think for $2.25, I want to see more about that. I'm gonna get our little cylinder vase here, which that is so interesting, y'all. Let me know what y'all know about this. And then, I don't know, I have no idea what these will sell for. I plan on putting them in a live sale. They're basically $3 a piece and 25% off, but there's no wear to any of the paint or any issue. There's no chips or cracks or issues with them, so I think those are super cute. And if I was to list them, buy it now, I mean, I would expect probably 12 to 18 minimum for them. So what the heck, let's give it a shot. And then of course our wooded turtle. So I think I'm gonna go ahead to check out. Okay, y'all, welcome back to the kitchen island. We are going to take a look at the few things that we picked up at the Overland Park Goodwill today. I'm going to start with this little turtle here. I think this is probably made in Fiji, the Philippines, something to that effect. It is a hand-carved wood turtle, and he's got a little baby turtle on his back there. I have not found any breaks or been able to identify anywhere that's been repaired or has any issue. We paid $3.25 for him. He was a red tag, and I think, wasn't it pink tags? I don't know. It wasn't red tags on sale. He's got a little bit of mother of pearl on him around the edges here, but as well as just this intricate, you know, hand carving and stuff. I just really like it. He's essentially a trinket box is what I'm going with. But they've even got little face details on him there. I just thought he was super cool. On average, it looks like these some sell up into the 30s and 40s. I would estimate this guy probably somewhere between 18 to 24. It could go for a little bit more, but conservatively, that's about where I would say. And then these two glasses here. Now, my husband walked in and saw these sitting on the kitchen island, and he was immediately drawn to them. And he walked over and he says, "Oh my gosh, are those hand painted?" And I said, "Yep, they sure are." And I've tried to look up to see if I could figure out, you know, are they a mass produced, you know, kind of thing. And it looks like Pier 1 makes similar looking ones, but they are truly hand painted. I've gotten on there and really looked at them. They are hand painted, but it looks like there's some out there that are either pretty identical or very, very close to it. That some are stemless, some have stems. It just depends. I've seen a few comps, I think, or examples of where they're in like a set of 4, and they referred to them as songbird stemless wine glasses. And that's probably along the lines of what I would refer to them as well. There's no markings on the base or anything. It looks to be probably a machine-produced glass piece. It is thin glass. I think, oh, it was yellow tags on sale. That's right, because these had yellow tags. They were $2.93, but then they were 25% off of that. Rough estimate for resale on these, I would probably say, again, maybe in that 12 to 18, possibly a little bit more, but conservatively, I would say maybe 12 to 18 or so on those. And then, on our last piece here, I think it's intended to be a vase. It's got the typical mid-century kind of drip glaze going on here. And you'll notice on the bottom it says Anna Van Briggle, Colorado, and then it's abbreviated Springs, and then you'll see an X right there. Now, I'm going to read you guys a little bit on this. I think this one here probably was produced in the 50s or 60s, give or take, and I'm going to explain to you why I think that. First and foremost is the fact that it is not a matte glaze like their typical early production pieces. But I'm going to read you guys some information about Van Briggle out of a couple of my books that I've got here, and just give you some background and history on the company, on Anne, on artist Van Briggle, who started the company, and then we'll kind of go from there. So this book that I'm going to read to you guys from is The Koval's Collector's Guide to American Art Pottery, produced in 1974, or copyright 1974. So it's got a little bit of age to it, but nevertheless, they have a whole little section back here on the Van Briggles. And I'm going to go ahead and read to you guys all about them here. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. It's going to take a few minutes, but I think there's a lot of interesting information here as well. Van Briggle Pottery. Artist Van Briggle was born in Felicity, Ohio on March 21st, 1869. His parents, Eugene and Martha Bryan Van Briggle, came from Holland. They claimed the two Pieters and Jan Bruegel, the famed Flemish painters, as ancestors. Even as a child, Artist was a talented artist. He worked in Cincinnati and studied there at the Academy of Art. About 1886, he worked with Carl Langenbeck of the Avon Pottery, and by 1887 joined Mrs. Storer of the Rookwood Pottery. In 1893, he studied in Paris at the Julian Art Academy under John Paul Laurens and Benjamin Constant. During that period, he went to the Beaux Arts to study clay modeling, and in the summer of 1894 was in Italy studying painting. Back in Paris in 1895, he became engaged to a talented artist, Anne-Louise Gregory. The time he spent in France influenced Van Briggle in many ways. He became familiar with the Art Nouveau styles, which he later adapted. He saw Chinese pottery of the Ming Dynasty and determined to reproduce the matte or dead glaze of that earlier period. And he became familiar with the works of the Berlin and Sèvres porcelain factories and was greatly influenced by their designs. Artist returned to Cincinnati in 1896. He worked at the Rookwood factory as a painter and decorator, and also at his own studio. Because of tuberculosis he had contracted as a boy, in 1899 he decided to move to Colorado Springs, Colorado, for his health. He worked at Colorado College and at a home studio experimenting with the local clay and glazes. In August 1901, the first pieces were fired at the Van Briggle Pottery, located at 615 North Nevada Avenue, Colorado Springs. By Christmas of that year, he was selling his pottery. His wife, Anne Gregory Van Briggle, was born in Plattsburgh, New York, July 11, 1868. As a young girl, she lived with an aunt and studied painting in New York City from 1889 to 1893. In 1894, Anne and her aunt went to Paris, where Anne had her own studio. She did a portrait of artists in Paris, and the two became engaged in 1895. But Anne did not move with him to Colorado Springs until 1900, when she obtained a job as an art supervisor in the high school. It was not until 1902 that they married. She worked with him at the pottery until Artist died on July 4, 1904. At the time, they employed 14 workmen. Anne continued the pottery after the death of her husband, and a memorial building, the Van Briggle Art Pottery, was begun in 1907 and completed in 1908. It stood at 300 West Uintah Street, Colorado Springs. Young artists were trained at a school of design at the pottery to continue the work of artist Van Briggle. In 1908, Anne Van Briggle married Etienne A. Ritter of Denver, Colorado. She died November 15, 1929. The pottery went into bankruptcy and in 1913 was taken over by Ede F. Curtis. C.B. Lansing took it over from 1915 to 1919, when he sold it to I.F. Lewis of Springfield, Missouri. A fire destroyed part of the plant in June 1919, but it was rebuilt. The Van Briggle Pottery continued making their typical matte glazed wares. When the factory became too small in 1955, a building of native stone was built at 600 South 21st Street in Colorado Springs. Pottery is still being made and sold from this address. The Van Briggle Pottery Company won many awards, including gold, silver, and bronze medals at the Paris Saloon in 1903 and 1904. Other medals at the St. Louis Exposition 1904 and the American Pacific Exposition 1905, and an award at the Arts and Crafts Exhibition Boston 1906. Product. The clay used at the Colorado Springs Pottery came from a nearby deposit located within 5 miles of the plant. The deposits of clay ranged from dark red to cream buff. Clay from Georgia and England were also used. And for all the needed clay preparation, the plant had electrical power and machinery. A great variety of pieces were made at the pottery, including all types of glazed terracotta for mantels, chimney tops, roof tiles, tile for interior decoration, building exterior, dry pressed tile for fireplace hearths, wall fountains, garden decoration, and even flower pots. The glazes varied, the most famous the turquoise Ming, a blue matte glaze still in use, and Persian rose, a two-tone rose to maroon shade. Van Briggle also used green, brown, purple, pink, red, blue, lavender, plum, cardinal red, brown, yellow, mustard, black, gray, green, and other colors. A few pieces were done with two colors. An early article, Ceramic Studios, May 1905, mentions a quaint all-over pattern-like figures from a cashmere shawl. All other reports are of pieces decorated with a single color. Van Briggle adorned his creations with the precious and semi-precious stones of Colorado. In 1912, it was noted, within the last 3 years, Van Briggle Pottery has been making an iridescent glaze which takes a third firing. The color is put on by hand, making the design more pronounced yet in complete harmony with the colors of the vase. The glaze was not applied by dipping, but was sprayed on with an atomizer. Mountain Craig Brown, the brown and green glaze favored at Van Briggle Pottery after 1922, was discontinued in 1935. A flood destroyed much of the pottery and some of the glaze formulas were lost. The brown glaze and the molds for a piece known as Old Man of the Sea were the two most important losses to the flood. A white glaze called Moonglow was in use about 1946. Persian rose glaze was used until 1969 when it was discontinued. Lamp bases were produced by 1919. Lampshades using grasses and butterflies and local flowers were designed to blend with the bases. Marks. The famous AA mark was used by artisan Anne Van Briggle on the very first pieces made in Colorado. It was incised in the clay with the date and the words Van Briggle. The mark appears to have some variations because it was always incised by hand. The AA is sometimes in a rectangle, sometimes a trapezoid, sometimes alone. Many of the pieces were dated from about 1900 to 1920. Stock numbers were put on the bottom with a stamp from 1910 to 1920. The letters USA followed the mark from 1922 to 1929. After 1920, the words Colorado Springs, Colorado were added to the mark. This was sometimes done in an abbreviated form. The girls who worked in the pottery sometimes listed other things on the bottom of a piece. The words Colorado Springs were written in script or print, depending on the girl. Original means the piece was turned on a wheel and not made in a mold. Hand carved means that the design was carved into the piece. Hand decorated means there was slip decoration. Code numbers have appeared on some early pieces before 1904. The most reliable information suggests that Roman numeral 3 was the code for artist Van Briggle, while Roman numeral 2 was for the work of Harry Bands. A Roman numeral 1 was for the pieces turned out by Anne Van Briggle. The name of an artist appears on a very few pieces. One piece we have seen is marked FL. Okay, so while I was trying to figure out how to date this piece, because as you can see on the bottom, everything looks okay, except for the glaze, really. I would kind of think this is a little bit of an older piece, except for the fact of it is not a matte glaze. And they really didn't start using, from what I can tell anyway, and in all my reading so far, they really didn't start using these more glossier glazes until at least like the 40s and 50s and stuff. And so I ended up coming across this other article from, let me show you, from clemhall.com, if you want to look that up. And I'm going to read this to you real quick. And I think this helps maybe explain a little bit more of timing, and it ties into some other pottery pieces that I've recently found in other pottery companies. So let's look at this one. Anne Van Briggle died in 1929. The Anna line was produced from 1954 until 1968, so obviously Anne Van Briggle did not sign those pieces. The designation of Anna for this line happened more as an afterthought than anything. It was just a way of keeping a problematic line of clay and glaze that we bought from Dryden Pottery separate from the normal Van Briggle clays and glazes. In 1954, Jesse Lewis, then the owner of Van Briggle, purchased a failing local pottery in Kansas called Dryden Pottery. Dryden Pottery had a very good designer and owner, James Dryden, and had developed popular high-gloss glazes with the distinctive volcanic drip effect, but they were poorly located and not drawing the all-important tourist trade. Dryden's friend, Mr. Lewis, agreed to buy him out so he could relocate to Arkansas, where Dryden Pottery is located to this day. The materials and molds remained at the Dryden plant until 1956. During those years, the Dryden plant continued to function as a wholly owned subsidiary of Van Briggle. The pieces that came from Dryden were labeled Anna Van Briggle, Colorado Springs, but did not have the Van Briggle logo. It is important to know that not all Anna Van pieces were made at Dryden in Kansas. In fact, most Anna pieces were made at the Van Briggle plant in Colorado. In 1956, Clem Hall, Burl McKinney, Mr. Lewis's son-in-law, Kent Frazier, Mr. Lewis, and some of the other workers at Van Briggle drove out to the Dryden plant. I was having surgery and was not able to participate. Lucky me. The temperatures were at 20 degrees below zero as the Van Briggle people struggled to load the molds, clay, and glazes and other into the truck. After trucking the Dryden Pottery equipment back to Colorado Springs, Van Briggle wanted to utilize the high-gloss Dryden glazes with the Van Briggle clays and designs. But much to Mr. Lewis's disappointment, the Van Briggle clay would not accept the Dryden glazes, causing them to bubble in such a horrible way that they could not possibly be sold. Although the Dryden clay would accept some of the Van Briggle glazes, they looked terrible because the Dryden clay was too dark. Mr. Lewis had purchased the lot, and none of it worked together with his existing formulas. He was not a happy camper. Fortunately for Van Briggle, James Dryden's son-in-law, Joe Jessick, did not move to Arkansas with Dryden, but came to work for Van Briggle at about the same time. The decision was made to continue to use the Dryden glazes with the Dryden clay until such time as a new clay formula could be created that would accept both the VB, or Van Briggle, and the Dryden glazes. Until that formula was found, Van Briggle had two sets of clays and glazes. Pieces produced with the Anna formulas continued to carry the Anna mark, often with the addition of the traditional Van Briggle logo. Many Dryden designs were discontinued at the same time as inconsistent with the Van Briggle line, although some were kept, such as the Moroccan Ur. In 1969, Joe Jessick and I finally came up with a clay that would accept both glazes. In 1968, the last white clay and the last Anna pieces were made. All pieces since that time have been made with the modified clay formula and carry the AAs. The Anna line went the way of history, as did the white clay. Okay, so this article was written obviously far more recently than my book written by the Covills back in 1974. And I think this helps answer the mystery as to what was going on. So I think that's where we're getting this glossier, more Dryden style volcanic ash glaze from. And I also think that's why it's marked Anna on the bottom, is because it's part of that Anna line. I do think it's probably a piece that was produced at the Van Briggle Pottery location, but they probably still used the Dryden clay and Dryden glaze on it. So a confusing but yet interesting part of history. And again, just another example of when I tell you guys how a lot of these companies, they knew each other, like the owners knew each other, the designers, the artists, a lot of them knew each other. They traded molds, they traded designs, they bought each other out. This is why there's so much overlap and overlay and confusion. This more easily happens because of things like this. Because I sat here staring at this going, this looks right, but it doesn't have the traditional AA mark on the bottom. It does, however, have the Roman numeral X. Now that part did throw me, because in their very early years, Van Briggle did use Roman numerals to market. So I don't know, but I know that they didn't use glazes like this. I'm going to show you guys an example of glazes and pieces from another book, collector's book that I have, and that way you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay, now you guys have seen this book before. It's by the Millers, Treasure or Not, How to Compare and Value American Art Pottery. Is copyright 2001, so a little bit newer. Now, they have a couple sections in here on Van Briggle. Let's see, Van Briggle Pottery Floral. But here you can see some examples. This is one of the mixed color glazes, vases. But see, you can just tell. And look at this one here, how matte it is. It is not a glossy sheen color or glaze. These are, I think this is probably in that brown color they were talking about that was destroyed. And again, you can tell it is just, it's not glossy. I mean, look at the comparison. There's no shine to it. And you can tell down here too. So that gives you kind of an idea with these pieces, the difference in it. And to my knowledge anyway, I have not found anything that states that they used any sort of glaze like this. Van Briggle was very much into the old Ming Dynasty, the old, what they referred to as dead glaze. He was really into this and the Art Nouveau style, and which you can tell here with the person or lady draped around the top here. And this is one of the pieces that had won an award. Now, I do think Van Briggle officially closed down in the early 2000s. Don't quote me on that, but it was a little bit more recent. Here's an example of some of the tiles that they had done for interior decoration, you know, around fireplaces and things like that. There's still buildings and stuff that have these pieces up and everything. I mean, they're just exquisite. They're beautifully done, absolutely beautifully done. So that is a little bit of history on the Van Briggles and how their pottery came about, how Dryden was incorporated into Van Briggle, which is why, again, I believe we're seeing this more glazed Dryden style, volcanic style ash. And I think that answers the question as to the lack of the AA mark on here or any other indicators that this would be an older piece. I do think obviously it's produced prior to 1968, as in the information there said. That was when the Anna line stopped being produced. For resale value on it, I don't know. Looking up online for comps, I would estimate this piece probably maybe $20 to $30, which I know sounds surprising given that it has Van Briggle written on it and all that stuff. Now, if you found one of those early pieces, you're talking a lot of money, but I don't think that this one carries that same type of value. I do think it's beautiful. I think it's really cool. I'm glad we picked it up, if nothing else, just for the like little history lesson with it. But I wouldn't expect probably more than $20 or $30 for it. But here's what I've been thinking as well. There's a lot of pieces, art pottery pieces and stuff that I pick up, and art pottery is just kind of what comes to mind. But there's pieces that I think I would feel better just listing as multi-day auction. And so I think on my eBay, I'm going to start doing a lot more multi-day auctions with a lot of things, not just obscure art and things like that, but I think I'm going to start pulling items that I've had listed for a long time and run them on a multi-day auction and then see what happens. If they don't go anywhere and they're worth hanging on to, maybe I'll run it again. If I've had it listed for well past a year and nothing's happened and nothing happened in a multi-day auction, then maybe it's time to let it go. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, is to start transitioning my eBay store into more primarily multi-day auctions. So I don't know, you guys let me know what you think about that. I'm trying to change things up a little bit. I just feel like it's a little bit stale, and I want to change things up, and I've been thinking about it a lot over the past several days, if not couple weeks, and I think that's what I want to do, is start transitioning over to multi-day auctions. And everything, you know, will start generally between $4 and like $12 as starting bids on most items. Anything that I feel like I need to start above, you know, $12, I think probably is still better to be as a buy it now. But otherwise, I think that's what we're going to do. So stay tuned. maybe we'll talk more about it in my next video or this coming Saturday, something like that. All right, guys, I think that's it for this one, and I will see y'all on the next one.